Hey everyone, welcome back to We Get to Do This. This week, it's Coach Jacob, and I'm going off the Oak Endurance vibes. Today we are doing something real special that we haven't actually done since episode 12, which is crazy. We're kicking off a 3-part series, 97A, B, and C, following one of my athletes, Luana Ciccarelli, all the way through her build, her race week, and her post-race recap for Grandma's Marathon 2026. What makes this really cool is that each episode is an actual run coaching call. There's no script. I didn't prep. We didn't prep. It's just Luana and I on a call the same way we do it every few weeks. And you get to be along for the ride. So Luana, thank you for allowing this to happen. If you've ever been curious about what a run coaching call looks like what do a coach and athlete even talk about, this is your answer. This is the real thing. It's going to give you 3 very different looks into 3 very different run coaching calls. About Luana, before we get into it, she's been an Oak Endurance athlete for about 4 years. She's 49 years old. She's a mom. She works a full-time desk job. She's been sober for 16 years, and Grandma's this year will be somewhere around her 19th or 20th marathon. We weren't entirely sure. So she's not a beginner. She's been around for a while running, and I'll say, and you'll hear this come up in the call, she might be the most dialed and, as I think she said, locked in that she's ever been heading into a race. This episode specifically, 97A, is all about the build. We recorded it 5 weeks out from Grandma's, and we get into the training, peak mileage, race pace work, fueling, dealing with some plantar fasciitis she had going on. But honestly, some of the best stuff in this episode goes way beyond the physical. We talked, surprise, about the mental side of endurance sports as well, and the psychology behind why so many of us grip our running so tightly, and what it actually takes to build a healthy long-term relationship with the sport. Luana is incredibly open and honest, and I think a lot of you are going to hear yourselves in her. And I am, again, just so grateful that she took the time and was able to come on for this. 97B will be about race week. That will come out in the next few days as well, as Grandma's is like 5 days away. And 97C is the full recap after Grandma's. So if you're not subscribed yet, now is a really good time to do that so that you don't miss either of those. All right, let's do this thing. Here's my call with Luana 5 weeks out from Grandma's Marathon 2026. We're releasing this, though, the week of Grandma's as kind of a hype mode for Grandma's Marathon. But again, it takes place 5 weeks out. So enjoy, y'all. You sure?
Yeah.
I'm surprised that you don't have Pip with you right now.
No, there's no dogs in here. They'd be a distraction.
We could have just spent the whole time talking about your dogs.
No, we're good.
Okay, welcome. So like I said, we're going to try to, for the most part, we're just going to talk about your run coaching, and kind of what I am envisioning is either 2 separate episodes, one before Grandma's that kind of shows what our calls look like, but also I think it'd be cool to just hear the thought process, from your end, on the way to Grandma's, and it's gonna be cool to document it.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be cool for you to listen to after Grandma's, and then after Grandma's we'll kind of recap how it went and whatnot too.
Okay.
But before we get too far into a typical run coaching call and whatnot, can you just briefly talk about who you are, what do you do, why do you do it, maybe touch on the fact that you're a mom, maybe how you got into running. You can bring up your dogs. You can bring up Heated Rivalry if you want, and how you're obsessed with that show. Whatever comes to mind.
Okay, so I'm Luana Ciccarelli. I've worked with Jacob for how long? Pre-pandemic? No, right after 5 years? 4 years? 4 or 5 years. For both.
I've been in the industry for 5 years, so probably 4 years, because I think you were a year in.
Yeah, so
Something
both
like
with
that.
run coaching and strength training. I work for a medical specialty society supporting physicians. I work in health policy, so I have a day job that I sit at my desk all day. Running, when people ask why I run, what I like about running, I got to the point where I can honestly say I love running now. I haven't always loved running. When I started, I ran I'm 49 years old. I'll put that out there too. So I'm at a stage in my life where my goal is always, I want to get faster without getting injured. And that injury prevention is my number one priority. When I first started running, I ran track in high school, sprints, hurdles, sprints, never did long distance, never want to do long distance. I ran a half marathon. God, 25 years ago. My husband had run a couple marathons and we just somehow decided we were going to do this and then didn't really do anything or really get into it. And I just slowly kind of eased in and I don't know what made me do it, but I will tell you the first race I did, the first half marathon, I did everything wrong. I built up my mileage too fast. I wasn't working with anybody. I didn't stretch. I didn't strength train. I got IT band syndrome. I got something injected in my knee and I ran through it. I did everything wrong. Then I couldn't run for months. And then I quickly realized, like, I'm not one of those people that cannot stretch or do things. Like, I'm gonna get injured. My husband always says to me, he's like, "How is it you're always getting injured?" So I knew that early on that I had to do stuff prevention to keep me running. Um, oh God, let's see. I have a 20-year-old daughter. Um, I look at running, Jacob's line, you're always like, what's my why? Uh, Running has always been an escape for me. I thread the needle or I straddle the healthy and unhealthy line of it of, is it a healthy escape or unhealthy? I figure there's a lot worse things I could be doing. So, so it's a
Fair.
healthy one. Um, and God, what else did you ask me? I don't remember. What
I
I've
think you
run,
kind of.
I found, I think there's this negative connotation sometimes of getting stuck and just like constantly training and running, but it's worked for me and been something that's brought me comfort and like sanity. I've been doing about 2 marathons a year for a lot of years. The pandemic,
Hmm.
you know, interrupted some of those. Grandma's will be my, I think 19th marathon. I don't remember. I think it's 19th or
Wow.
20th. Um, so it's I like having a goal, something to work towards. I have got to the point, and we can talk about this later, about like not just the physical prep involved in training, but the mental health and mental aspect of it, where I feel like I have a healthy relationship for it now. If I got injured
Hmm.
tomorrow and I couldn't run grandma's, I'd be okay with it because I know I can register for another race. And it's more important for me to fix whatever's wrong and find a different race. 20 years ago, 15 years, even 5 maybe years ago, I was not in that place where if something happened, I was like, I've trained, I'm going to do this race. I don't care what I have to do. And I think that's probably one of the most important lessons that I've learned and kept me running. So,
I'd argue you have one of the healthier relationships at this point with the sport. I would
yeah,
say
at this
versus when I,
point,
especially when I, versus when I first started working with you. Not to say it was like super unhealthy, I guess. So when you say that
no,
you toe the line, I would say like now the way I want you to do it is like, I've seen you go through the I'm never gonna miss a run, and
yep,
if I do, it's the end of the world.
yep,
To missing a bunch of runs, to what you're doing now, where it's like you're hitting 80 to 90% of things, if not more, honestly.
hmm
I'd argue probably more, but you're very confident in your ability to audible and to listen to your body and know when to push when you need to push
yeah,
as
yeah,
well in all aspects too. I wouldn't say it's just in running. I would say it's also in strength training.
hmm
This is also probably the
hmm
most consistent I've seen you at strength training too,
hmm hmm
but flexibility, mobility, all of it, right? I feel like you're sleeping like the most as well that I've maybe ever seen,
yeah,
like
sleep,
recovery wise, your
it's
nutrition.
sleep's hit or miss. That comes with
Yeah.
being a 49-year-old woman.
Fair.
But
Fair.
what I can do to I always have like prioritize my sleep. But yeah, I think, and I don't know when you want to go down this path, but I look at now the relationship and the way I approach looking at that, the mental part of it is the hardest part for people to wrap their heads around that. Knowing when you have an injury, I mean, you run 15 miles, you run 10 miles, you run as many miles as we run, like shit's going to hurt. And there's a difference of learning of what's sore because I'm running 35 miles or 40 miles a week or whatever versus what's pain that you should stop. And I think a lot of us don't know it or recognize it, or we recognize it and choose to run through it anyway and end up getting injured. And being okay with not doing a run has taken me a very long time to get to that point. And I very much will acknowledge that it's a control thing. I think this is where you talk about towing the line and it's something that I feel like I have control of in life. And recognizing that it's a good practice in knowing what you can and can't control and not letting yourself think you truly do have control over it. So we could talk for hours about that, though.
Well, but so how have you like shifted that mindset to being
Mm.
able to essentially disconnect from needing to have control at all times of it?
Yeah, I don't
Like
know that I
what?
have 100%. I've improved a lot. There's still a lot of times where it's not great. I will say, I mean, I think a lot of it is you and like talking through things and like grandma's God, what was it, 3 years ago? When I fully melted down after, and I was coming off, I had run LA, and we've talked about this, and it was too much back to back. I ran LA, turned around and did grandma's, probably too close back to back. LA, I had a really good run, and I felt really confident, and I was like, "I'm gonna go into grandma's and I'm gonna PR this." And I didn't, and, it just wasn't great. Like, I'm sure I was fatigued, I'm sure it was too soon after, and I had set up in my mind that this was gonna be a PR, and I just melted down after. I remember I walked into the gym and just, like, started crying, and,
And then I
it
was
you
like, we're going to Krispy Kreme. We're gonna
Yes,
we're
we
gonna
left. We
leave.
didn't
We're
even
not
do
gonna
anything.
work
We
out.
left and just went and got a smoothie and, like, had a little therapy, but I think looking at that and why I had, like, set this, and if I didn't achieve it, it wasn't gonna be enough, and I think there's probably, if you sat down and we looked at endurance athletes, I think there's a whole lot of consistencies about obsessive behavior and control issues and feeling like we have control of something. And the structure, I think there's a healthy balance between structure and having a routine and relying solely on that, where if your structure is broken and you can't do something, letting that break you or impact you. And that, if I could instill that on my younger self or anybody new to endurance sports or just anyone in life, it'd be recognizing that. So I don't know. I don't know if I don't think I answered the question. I went on a tangent, but us talking through like why? Because I remember you said to me, you're like, why does this bother you so much? And I don't think I'd ever asked myself. I had just said, well, because I didn't get my PR. But like, why? Like, why did it matter so much that I had to get a PR? And like, who was I trying to prove it to? I think one of the most important things I get out of when we do run coaching is that. I think there's a lack of any coaching and athletes in general of looking at the like mental motivation of why you do something and the impact it has on you and um why you're doing it. You look at kids now and parents putting them in these sports and they're in 5 sports and this many days a week, and I think there's just this inherent pressure, societal pressure on people. So I think that we endurance athletes tend to gravitate towards that type of behavior. So, anyway.
Right, for sure. I have a handful of people I can imagine right now where, and everyone goes through this, and I think it's partly that control where when you talk to them, the way they talk about their running, you can tell that they are gripping onto it so
Mhm.
tightly,
Yep.
where you can just see it physically in them, where if they lose it, right, they
Mm.
will lose it in a
Yeah.
sense, in a not a healthy way. And
Yeah.
I sometimes we see it in a sense where someone walks in and their shins are hurting or their ankles rolled or plantar fasciitis or hamstrings flared up, glute, whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And they look at me and they just look like, essentially, like they look like they're on the brink of just like breaking down.
Yep.
Right. And I think that when it's hard to tell when you're in it, and we've all been in that before. I know I have too. When you are in that, it's very hard to recognize what's going on, but those are the times where you need to be like, why ask yourself, why is it so important to me
Yeah.
right now that I get
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
the end of this? So,
If you want my hot take on that, I can tell you, I think it's that, it's because it's a sense of control. And I mean,
yeah,
this, I'm
for
in
sure.
I'm in recovery. I've been sober for 16 years. So I know I can recognize when something behavior is based on in myself. I can recognize when it's on wanting that sense of control, because that's any type of addictive behavior, whether it be food, drugs, sex, alcohol, whatever. is fear of the unknown and wanting to have a sense of control over something. And it's a slippery slope for me. I have to make sure I'm looking at running in a healthy way. And I think there's a lot of people that they don't recognize that. And you can't see that the immediate, like taking away that race that's supposed to happen in a month. If that doesn't happen, then you don't have control anymore. And you can't even get your mind to the point of, well, there's going to be another race, you know? And I'm not saying I got
Bingo.
all the answers because I got a whole lot of shit that's still messed up. But through experience, these are what my experience has been and what I can recognize in myself now. But I don't think I'd be able
Yeah,
to be to this point now had I not gone through all those. So,
for sure. I've had two specific times in my life where I can think about it right now where the only thing I really felt like I was in control of at that time in my life was running. And that was when
mm-hmm,
it was at the most unhealthy
mm-hmm,
spots. That was when my relationship with
yep,
running was the most unhealthy. And I think
yep,
that one thing for people to remember with that is if you look at running like a relationship, whether it's a
mm-hmm,
friendship or a romantic relationship, whatever it is, a relationship, and you truly think about running like a person. Someone told me this advice. Think about it like a person. And are you asking too much of that person?
mm-hmm.
I think that's a really good, and I think once I heard that, there was like an unlock in me of like, wow, yeah, I'm putting a lot of pressure on these runs, and whether they go right, whether I hit them, whether I feel good on them, and if I don't, it's running's fault. Now I'm pissed off,
Yeah,
or it's my body's fault. I'm pissed off my body,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. And
all of that.
and I think to project even more, you look at you tell me this all the time, like what percentage of the population runs a marathon? What percent of the population runs a 5K or whatever? And we're inherently surrounded by people that are doing this on the norm and comparing ourselves to that. Like it's
Right.
not
That's a
normal.
whole
It's
nother
not
thing. That's
normal.
a whole
Yep.
nother thing.
That's a
Right.
whole other
No.
podcast. Anyway.
Yeah. That's all. Yeah. That's a very good point too.
Yeah.
Very good point.
Yeah. Anyway.
Uh,
Okay.
I think that was a phenomenal intro. So, okay, you've got grandma's coming up. We
Sure
are
do.
like 2 weeks away from our wedding. We are 5 weeks out from grandma's. How are you feeling?
I'm getting my TrainingPeaks open here so I can look at it too. Okay, how am I feeling? Physically, I feel great. I got a little post acupuncture high going right now. I literally just came from an appointment with your lovely fiance. So I'm feeling great. Body wise, I've had the planters, my heel's been jacked up. It's the best it's been since it started. It still bothers me, but it's not sidelining me. I'm doing all the things I need to do to not cause further injury and be able to run. So I feel good. Um, God, like physically, I feel good. I mean, we've talked about this. I feel like I'm more locked in than I've ever been. I think more consistently with strength training, it's just reinforced that confidence. And speed work, I feel like I'm at the best point I've ever been with speed work. So, I mean, I feel
Why do you
good.
feel like you're so locked in this block? Like what changed this block?
I've been trying to
'Cause I
think about
agree,
that.
you are. I mean, you told me like a month ago, we got coffee that month ago, whenever that
Yeah.
was, and
Yeah.
you were like, Jacob, I'm freaking, this is the one. I'm ready. And also,
Yeah.
why are you so
And
locked in? And then what happens if it's not the one too? I think
yeah,
that's an
and
important
I
thing.
was literally just going to say when you said this is the one, like I kind of don't care what if I have a PR or not. If I feel like for me now, success in a race is coming away from it feeling like I ran the best race I could that day. Now, it could be 95 for grandmas. Like it's happened. So if I
Yeah,
don't get a
that's
PR, but
likely.
I run the best that I can and I feel good, and, if I felt like I pushed myself as hard as I can, then I'm okay with that because I can't expect a PR when it's 95. Like I never had that mentality before. I do think part of it is, my whole experimentation has been with giving up dairy and how it's impacted my inflammation and sinuses and all that shit gone. I think physically I feel a lot better having that diet change, and I don't feel and I've just eaten a little bit better just because of that. Like by removing that, I've been eating like a lot less ice cream. And so I know I feel super sluggish when I'm eating a ton of sugar. So I think that's part of it. And, I think just in my mind, I'm like, I need to commit. Like I had a long stretch where I didn't have work travel and I knew I was going to be able to make it to the strength training classes consistently. And I'm like, I am going to lock in with this and I've been able to. So I don't know if that's an answer or not.
That's great. What do you feel like
Yeah.
thinking about the next 5 weeks? Where do you feel like your biggest areas of opportunity are so that you show up on grandma's feeling? I mean, you're already blocked in, right? But like when you show up
Yeah.
on grandma's
Yeah,
feeling
yeah.
really
I
good.
think really being on the same page about like the only little tiny voice in the back of my head is like like my long runs have been really good. I felt good. I've been trying to always have my last mile be my fastest mile, whatever. But is having a good expectation of what I can do and sustain for that whole race. We've talked about this a bunch about different strategies of starting off slow first couple miles. I used to have a stretch where I was always having a negative split, and then we've moved away from that and toyed around with doing like incremental, like this faster and then a little bit faster and a little faster. And so I think just feeling confident in, am I going to set out at a pace? Am I going to hold it the whole time? I think feeling like we're on the same page with that will get me there, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when I think with what you just said, it being confident at your race pace, essentially. So your
Mm-hmm.
race goal is,
Yeah.
let's start there really
4:15.
quick.
I wanna get
4:15. So
under 4:15.
that's roughly, I forget what it is. It's like
4:18 and change, I think, is my PR. So it's
4:18.
slicing I think it's 4:18 and change. So, I mean, it's taken, half or so minutes off of it. So 4:15, yeah.
And grandma's, I'm going to put 26.4 because it
Yeah.
allocates a little bit. So roughly 9:35 to 9:45 is that
Yeah.
pace range that we're going to want to
Yeah.
sit at roughly. So we've been doing a ton
Yeah.
of those long runs, and something that's been
Yeah.
different in this block specifically,
Yeah.
you have been doing two types of runs. Well,
Yes.
three types of runs consistently speed wise. One of them is something like you can see on this calendar, some type of like hills, strides,
Yeah.
faster clips on the tread, right?
Mhm.
10 by 60
Mhm.
seconds, strides,
Yeah.
things like that. The second type is some type of longer
Yeah.
interval, broken
Yep.
tempo, essentially faster
Mhm.
than your marathon pace.
Mhm.
So
And those have
that,
all felt good. I mean, and I push myself faster than some of the times where you have in there, and I've
yeah,
been thinking
yeah,
I've got you in the fucking back of my head, Jacob, saying like, if you get uncomfortable, be okay getting uncomfortable. And so I've got that like going in my head.
yeah, yeah.
I
Well,
don't
and that's
think.
been,
Go ahead. Go. You go. Go.
no, I was gonna say that's just been a huge difference because well,
Yeah.
the longer tempo runs have been a big difference. And then the other big difference is the shit like this that I've been having you do. So like Saturday,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
hardest one that you're going to do. And you have it this Saturday where it's 2 miles and then you're running 12 miles right at marathon pace, essentially.
This is
Right.
next
And then
week, right? Because
two
tomorrow's
miles easy.
20, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
My bad. I'm looking
No. No. No.
at
It's
next
fine.
week and
It's
the
fine.
week
No.
after.
No. It's fine. Um,
Yep.
and I think that so that's when you ask like, what would keep me or what would get me to the point of being prepared. That's where I feel like, I've done 12 miles at race pace, or I've done all
Hmm.
those. And like, can I do that for 26 miles? Like, that's like, yeah, I can. I think
Yeah.
I still feel like I don't know how fast I can go. I don't
I
know
think
what my
I agree.
potential is.
I think you have faster than where you are currently setting.
I do
Yes, I
too.
agree.
And I think it's fear. Let's get all psychological. I think it's that what keeps me from pushing into that uncomfortable or pain or at like mile 15 or 12. And it's always, I'm not going to be able to sustain this. And then I'm going to get to 22 and bonk. And, that's the fear in there. So I need to just like move past that and know that physically and mentally I'm able to push past that stuff.
Well, two things. One, I'm curious what's behind that. And you don't necessarily need to tell me,
Yeah.
but I would encourage you to think about that.
Yeah.
The other thing, though, is I know that, and we
Yeah.
have been very intentionally pushing that.
I
This
know.
block, specifically on the long
Yeah.
runs, on runs like what you have next Saturday, but then also we've been doing things like this one where you have
Yeah.
tomorrow, and this you're
Yeah. What
you're
am I
in
doing
peak
tomorrow?
training right now.
Yeah.
Right? You're in
Yeah.
peak training. So when people look
Yeah.
at this, like they could look back at your schedule and see that, like, you've been doing shorter long runs, but a lot of like 15s and 14s, things like that.
16,
Right.
14. Yeah. Yeah.
But my point is that like this weekend, you're doing 20, and in the past it'd be like, okay, ease into it. Start at
Yeah.
11, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now I've been giving you runs on this block where it's like you're going to do 20 and you're going to start right at 10 to 10:15 the whole
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
right? And I think that should
Yep.
be giving it, you tell me, but it should be giving you a lot of confidence then to be able
Yes,
to
I agree. Yep.
sustain that, just
Yep.
kind of like practicing going right out the gate
Yeah.
at close to that kind of marathon effort,
Yeah.
I think. So, and
I
Len, I
agree with
think
that.
that's going to be really, really crucial for you in the next, when we look at like these next few weeks, you have 2 20s that are going to be steady like that. And then you have 2 speed workouts. This 16 is not written, but it's going to be similar
Mhm.
to this, depending on how these go, similar to that
Mhm.
one, that 12 miles. And then you're
Mhm.
tapering.
Yeah.
So you've got 4 long runs left that
Yeah,
are
it's nuts.
quality, quote
It's
unquote. Yep.
nuts.
And then you've
Yeah.
got about 3 speed workouts left that are quality, quote unquote. So there's tons of time to
Yeah.
practice
Yeah.
it further, but you have been like the past 6 weeks and the
Yeah.
6 weeks prior has been preparing you for the next 6 weeks. So the last 6 weeks prepared you for this block. So you don't even need to think about grandmas really yet, even though I asked some questions. I would think about right now each week and what does
Yeah.
Luann need
Yeah.
to do to show up to each workout and
Yeah.
literally go into them thinking like, all right, this is the race. And that's where you get
Yeah.
into the
Yep.
whole like the journey is the goal, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you are hitting workouts right now that I've never seen you hit. And you're
And
about to
I have
do that further.
enjoyed this training, like, that's been another shift. I think just over time this happens, that it's not I don't think I've ever been at a point before where I looked at the training as the goal and or the training is the journey, and it's always like, yeah, and then the race has always been, like, the goal. Like, that's not for this like, the speed that I've done and this the training, I'm like, "This has been great." Like, I'm enjoying it and, like, yes, grandma's is gonna be amazing, but, like, I definitely feel I've approached this training block differently. Yeah.
For sure. I think that's actually a
And
big unlock that I've had too, honestly,
in
that I
the,
try to instill in people.
of viewing it that way, yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
I I look at each
yeah,
week and I'm like, this is an opportunity to try something like hard that I haven't done before, ideally, or that I'm repeating something I have done and just kind of test myself where I'm at. And I don't even really think about that's the whole like you have to love it. You have to love it. If you're doing this
right.
for the reasons like the external
Yep,
validation at the end, it's just never gonna work because like I'm
right,
I love seeing the consistency in myself and my athletes. I love testing limits on a random freaking Tuesday. I love
right.
how I feel on Saturdays. And sometimes you don't feel good too. I think that's important to
Period.
remember.
And another thing is treating each workout like, you know, always making sure I'm doing strides at the end, you know, and always if it's like 6 miles, like not cutting it
Doing
at
the whole thing.
5.5, or if it's 20 miles, not ending at 19.5, like if I routed it jacked up and I'm ending at a weird spot, like adding the other point 0.5 to make sure I get it all and treating it with that much like reverence or importance that it's not because you do that enough and it's like all of a sudden you have 4 miles fewer that week or 5 miles. And
Yeah,
so
and you were
I've been
falling into
that too.
that too, I would
Yeah,
say. There
I
were a
for
lot of
sure
long
was.
runs when you were like, "Yeah, I had 16," and I was like,
Yeah.
"14's enough today." You just cut
Yeah.
it, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
as a coach, like, there's also that side of it too, where I'm like, "Yeah, that's
You're
fine.
like,
I get that."
yeah.
But you do that
Yeah.
enough times, and yeah,
Yeah.
it becomes
Mhm.
okay to cut it
Uh,
short. That's where, like, don't get addicted to running X miles per week
right.
ever. It is important. If you say at the beginning of the week you're going to run 15 miles on the week, you need to run
Yeah.
15 miles on the week,
Right.
period.
Yeah.
Period, I think. Because it's like
Yeah.
that is the mental win every single week. You made a commitment. You're going to do that. Because then on race day, you have that just like notched in your brain too. And so this block for you, you've done that too, where man, you haven't been cutting any runs short.
Yeah.
And I think that's been huge. You haven't skipped
Mhm.
strides, and I have put on Wednesday on intentionally as many as you have time for, somewhere in the 30
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
90-minute range, so that you can kind of flex that how you
Yeah.
want. I think that's been
Mhm.
good too.
Mhm.
How has your nutrition been in terms of like
On runs?
like on runs, but like fueling pre-run for like a long run percent, things like that.
Good.
And then
I mean,
after,
I feel like I have that figured out. I think I tended the last couple years, not a couple years, but I would err on the side of not eating enough during those like 20-mile or like during an actual race. And I've been trying to be very intentional about, okay, yep, even, making sure I'm, spreading it out and eating enough. And I mean, it takes a while to figure out what works on your stomach. I feel like that's kind of, I don't want to say locked in, but I feel like that's
feel good on
good.
that.
I'm not gonna mess with anything there. What I'm eating the different Humagels. They're working
How often are you doing them?
either 30 minutes or 3 miles, 4 miles, somewhere in that 30-minute window. Yeah.
And are you doing handhelds or are you doing your vest for hydration?
Vest for long. God, I'd love to get away from wearing that vest in a race, but where do you put where do you put all your gels? Where do you put all your gels
I
and all this
start my race and I'm not kidding. The first like hour, I'm not super comfortable like
because
with
you
the amount of
yeah.
gels I have in my shorts. Like it definitely is annoying that first hour. And I'm like, this is
Yeah.
fine because
I
then that second half when I'm ditching, like by a mile and
yeah.
a half in, you're down 3 gels. That's a good amount. Or sorry, by an hour and a half in, you're
Yeah,
down
yeah.
3 to 4 gels. It's a good amount to shed from. So I just deal with it personally. But
I also part of
because
me is like, I'm not cracking a 3-hour marathon. I'm not cracking a 4-hour marathon. It's not like having that backpack is slowing me down at the pace that I go. However, I'm like, is it? Like, should I try and ditch it? I don't know.
I think I think it's whatever you prefer. I
Yeah,
don't personally like wearing a backpack.
yeah,
But I will, like I do during trail runs and stuff because the
yeah,
practicality of it. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't wear. It's very much whatever
yeah,
you. So
yeah.
this is a good opportunity if you want to try practicing with like a handheld.
Mm-hmm.
Get a handheld and practice on some of these shorter runs first, and then
Yeah,
take it
I
on
have
on
one.
a longer.
I'll take it out if it's hot. Like I did it this morning and I did my hills and um shout out let's tell Travis. I did a morning run today. I hate running in the morning. I
Don't
hate
tell
it.
Travis. Don't tell Travis.
But I did hills and all that business this morning, and I think I was over 6 months, and I didn't bring anything like a handheld, but I have one for if I'm doing like 8 or so, just out and back or whatnot. Yeah, nutrition, fine. Knock on wood, I don't. That's the least of my worries. I feel like right now. Like I feel like I got that ironed out.
Okay, good. Recovery, feeling good on like sleep and things like that.
Mm-hmm. I always sleep like ass the day after a super long run, but I think like your cortisol is all jacked up, and it's just part of it coming down from that. But no, yeah,
Cool. Uh, Sweet. You have a couple of key sessions left, like I said. They're all
yeah.
laid out in Training Peaks. I'm going to update some things after all the next 2 weeks go, probably like right in
I mean,
that
you have a
window
little
of.
bit going on the next 2 weeks, so
I do. I'm out of
get
town for a
married.
little while. I'm out of town for a little while,
Is it
but
actually 2 weeks from tomorrow?
I'll be in touch. 2 weeks from tomorrow, I get married. Yeah.
Go
The next time we do this, a call, I'll be married. I
God!
know.
That's
I
amazing.
know. I know.
Happy for you guys. So
So
exciting. Okay.
let's set up a call for this one because, like I said, I'm gonna do what I think I might end up doing actually is putting all three of them together and releasing them as one episode. I haven't decided yet because I
Oh my
might get a little
god.
long. So I might release them
Freaking
as a couple. I don't know, but we'll find out. We'll see
I
what
mean, it's
happens.
gonna freaking go viral, so you might as well just drop one teaser and
That's
then
kind of
I'm so kidding, Jacob.
that's kind of what I was thinking. It's kind of what I was thinking. I think we should meet race week as our next meeting, and we'll debrief and kind of talk race plan for 20 minutes or so, and then we'll meet after as well and talk how the race went. Okay. Can
Yeah.
we meet
Yeah.
on the 17th of June?
Sure can. Yeah.
Do you have a specific time that you prefer?
In the office that day. So, I don't know what hour, like if we could do it after work hours, that'd be kind of nice, like sometime after 3:30 or really early
Let's
or
do
Monday anytime.
can you do 4 p.m. on
Yeah.
the 17th?
Yep. Is
Let's
that
do
too late
that.
for you? Is that okay?
I might be close to bed.
Might be
I'm
almost
sure
my
you're there.
bedtime.
Are you going up Friday? When are you going up? Thursday?
We're going up Thursday for the Des
Same.
and Kara.
Same.
You get tickets for
Yeah,
that too?
yeah. Yep. We get, yeah. Yeah, going up Thursday, which will be nice. We can hit the expo early. Get all the merch early because, the 50th. Yeah. Okay. So tomorrow I'm starting out and I'm sticking at the same pace the whole time. Yes?
10 to 10:15.
Wow, Kaylee, we made it through another episode. What do you think?
We would love if you would go give us a follow, a 5-star review, and comment on the episode and what you liked and what you'd like to see more of.
See you next time.
We get to do this.